the tales of the
I'm Jerry McGreer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I talk about all things uncanny, specifically the X-Force.
The Valley.
The Uncanny Valley. I love the idea that the kind of spooky thing that goes around on the internet where they say, like, there has to be an evolutionary reason that we distrust things that look like us, but that we can tell aren't us. Like, something happened in the past and we just don't know what it is. That's very, like, spooky and scary for me. I like that a lot.
It's super spooky, but it also just feels a little like a stretch. Like, does it?
Yeah.
Does there have to be an evolutionary reason?
Does it? Or is it just weird?
Yeah, it can't just be a little bit off-putting.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I like the idea of an
very-
alien war, like a mystical alien war that happened 1,000 years ago that there's no evidence
Yeah,
of
with
whatsoever.
doppelgangers and shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Secret invasion, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Let's do it, baby. It's a Secret Invasion takes over Duckfeed.
Yeah.
Is Ben Merkel a Skrull?
I don't know. Maybe.
The Ben Merk Skrull. Did you know that the guy who did the cover for this issue's name is straight up Raphael Grandpa?
I did not. No. I did not pay attention to that. Is that really what his name is?
Yeah. I was looking
Grandpa.
at the art and I was like,
Huh.
it looks like our grandpa. And then I looked in the credits and it's short for Raphael Grandpa.
Oh, good. That's a good grandpa.
It blows my mind, man.
I love it. This is so we're going to start with Uncanny X-Force number 19. We've done a lot of stuff in Uncanny X-Force so far, but the last one wrapped up with Angel being reborn. He has no memories of being Warren Worthington or Angel or Archangel or Apocalypse Angel or anything. So he's just all fresh as a babe. And we've got some leftovers from the Age of Apocalypse world that are still in our world to deal with after we soundly defeated the Apocalypse Archangel. And yeah, this is a really, really cool cover. Like I've never seen
it's great.
The Banff smoke. It'd just be like all of the cool like pastel kind of looking colors, and I love that a whole lot.
And look very physical.
Yeah,
look like it's a wrapping around him in like interesting ways that smoke would, like thick smoke would.
Yeah.
This would be an awesome print. Like if they made an X-Force poster, this would be really good.
This would be good. Yeah, I would like a trading card with this Nightcrawler on it. I think like pick this.
Yeah.
That would be pretty dope. And the rest of them are just like jumping in the air, and Psylocke is like looking at the viewer and all that stuff. So
Yeah, it's cool looking. This is a classic Fallout issue. Like they just did a really big story. Like it was like an 8-part story or something. You know, the Dark Angel saga was huge, and we have to pick up the pieces. You know, and this is something that I feel like kind of went out of style with comics. You just kind of rush to the next event. It says it's chapter 1. It's really not. We're going to go directly into another storyline after this, but we have to deal with what happened because it's rough stuff. Like these should have big effects on the characters.
yeah.
So it makes sense for them to reel from it.
We should mention too that there is a 19.1 as part of Marvel's Point One
Yes.
initiative. I read that issue. I think it's a good issue. I think it's fun, and it sets up like the Age of Apocalypse, like I think miniseries that they did for this time, where they dealt with a lot of the characters and like some of these guys like going back into the Age of Apocalypse world and dealing with the weird Apocalypse Wolverine over there. We're not going to cover it for this. I didn't think it really made a lot of sense to, because it just doesn't go anywhere, and I don't think we're going to.
It's a different series.
Yeah, we're
Like,
just
we could cover it on its own if we wanted to, but
Exactly,
it's not related to these characters or this plot.
exactly.
Really. I have been on a pretty ridiculous Remender trip, just in sport reading, because I got ensorcelled by Dr. Mindbubble, that statue, and I had to find out more about Dr. Mindbubble. The character from the next arc of this is also in one of those statues, so he's laying out his plays for big villains and everything.
Absolutely.
But I will. My point being, I will probably read that Apocalypse series, that Age of Apocalypse series.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm basically reading everything the dude has done.
Yeah, everything that he is credited on with in Marvel Unlimited. You're like, let me. Because every day I get a text from you that's like, now I'm reading Captain America. I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
I just
really?
it's pretty good, and a lot of recurring stuff. Like a lot of these same characters and concepts show up in them. Like he had in a different world, he was kind of an architect of Marvel in general for a little bit. And he kind of was. Between doing this and then Uncanny Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Like he did, and he did Axis. That's the big event that he got to do.
Yeah.
Which somehow is not A versus X, even though it looks like it in the font. But he had his little run of it, and I think it's really cool stuff. And I switched to it after quitting the San Francisco X-Men in disgust.
You were not happy with
attempt
that
at. Yeah. It's too horny, and it's Greg Land art, so everyone is a porn character, like traced, and they're constantly talking about fucking. It feels really weird.
You have not lived until because Chris, the guy that I do another podcast with, he's an anime guy, he's a manga guy, so he doesn't read a lot of Western comics. But when I was reading that, I was just like screen capping panels and sending it to him, and like, this is what Western comics are. And it's just,
how dare you?
It was just so funny. Like he was like, that just looks like a person. Like, what is this? And I'm like, I know. This is how they all are. Though there's no.
So sometimes it's Raphael Grandpa.
Sometimes it's Raphael
like
Grandpa.
we get good stuff every once in a while. Just Greg Land fucking sucks. Hey, that guy's the worst.
Absolutely worst.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Cool. So we kind of set it up. We're going to start out on Eva with Phantom X and his buddy. Who this is the automaton. Yeah. And we're talking to Baby Apocalypse, aka Evan.
AKA Genesis. And Phantom X is explaining to him, there's different types of people. There are leaders, there are followers, and there's a third type. These are the destroyers. The people that you have to take out. You had to be a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, which one of these do you want to be? You got taken out of your cell early before your education was completed. Are you actually going to be the person we want you to be?
Yes.
A good man and a good leader.
And at the same time, as he's having this conversation, he's also taking the world, which is damaged from their previous battle, and giving it to Automaton to keep for safekeeping.
Yes.
And a very funny, like, Alakazam to Open Sesame kind of mode that he's got in him, which is very funny to me for some reason.
Yeah, training Automaton to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. So he basically this is him setting him up, saying like, I'm going to set you up on the path to the leader. This is all stuff that's going to lead to him joining Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yes.
Joining the school.
Yeah.
Probably a good move.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Like, I think like Baby Apocalypse is a funny thing to say, number one, but also like,
yes,
it creates this moral, like, this interesting moral quandary of genes nature versus nurture and all that stuff, and it's just fun.
If you want to talk about fun things to say, again, I promise I'm not going to do this the whole episode. One of the Rick Remender comics I was reading had an alternate universe with an alternate Avengers that had Tiny Pym and Lil Ultron.
Ooh, Lil Ultron.
And it was a little Hank Pym that was stuck as like a MODOK, like a little MODOK head, and he had Lil Ultron as his little buddy who kept calling him father and daddy.
Aww.
And stuff. I love Lil Ultron.
Lil Ultron. I just want to put him in my pocket. Yeah.
I don't know how people don't like this writer. The Lil Ultron. I wish I liked Wolverine and the X-Men more.
I do too, because it's got what's his name in it, the little floating guy that we like so much. I mean, like, he's in it all over that place.
It's got Dupe. It's got Kid
you.
Omega. It's got such a good cast, and it's just so wacky.
Yeah. It gets away from itself sometimes, I think, for your and I taste.
Yeah. So he basically says you have to keep up with it. We cut over to Wolverine and Age of Apocalypse Jean Grey here, and Wolverine's trying to convince her to stay. Like, you earned a happy ending. You don't have to go back.
She said, not that kind of happy ending, Wolverine.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, I think the implication here, like, I've historically missed a lot of women's signals when I was younger. I used to be horrible at that shit. This is the most come fuck me in the shower that I've ever seen a character in a comic be.
Yeah.
Like, that's what she's saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's just enjoy the little time that we have together. She doesn't want to stay here because she wants to go back and still, help save her world, which they're actually, and I'm actually genuinely curious about that Age of Apocalypse little miniseries, just because I think that would be an interesting thing I don't know how many issues it is, but if it's like 6 issues,
she gets depowered.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Yeah. It's like interesting. Like, and
that's probably like the best Wanda outfit I've ever seen too. Like, I really like that. I like that Wanda outfit. And then we cut over to Deadpool and Sabretooth. Deadpool has like a running commentary about setting cameras in the bathroom and watching Sabretooth take a dump, while Sabretooth is just trying to, mourn his weird wild child chained guy.
How funny is it that they incorporated Wild Child and Sunfire's costume into the X-Men museum in this world?
Just so, I mean, like who?
No, we're keeping the bodies. They belong to us.
This
finders keepers.
I'm like, because Warren, ostensibly this is Warren's cave, right? This is his cavern.
Yes.
So this is Cavern X. But like they get back. Warren's not doing this. Like he's kind of out of it. Wolverine, Phantom X is busy. Like who is doing this? Is what I'm saying.
I don't know who put them in these tubes. And at first I thought maybe they would be like souvenir tubes, like the Age of Apocalypse team could take the costumes back. But then Archangel's costume is there as well.
Yeah,
these are just the casualties from this fight, and they belong to this version of X-Force. Sorry,
so fucking hilarious. Dude.
I love Sabretooth saying that like Wild Child was very loyal, and Deadpool being like, yeah, and you repaid him by keeping him on a chain. Like, it's real weird that you walk your friend everywhere.
I mean, that is classic Sabretooth business, though. I think I feel like that's just classic Sabretooth.
Yeah, it's like the end of the lighthouse.
This is all setting up for them to use Gateway to send them back to Age of Apocalypse world. Wolverine and Jean do some makeouts, and then we're never going to see each other again. And then
I love that moment. Like Logan is saying, "Hey, if you ever need me," like trying to keep hope alive. And she just says, "We can't pretend this isn't something that it isn't. You're never going to see me again."
Yeah,
like you have to give up this hope. Like, it is ridiculous.
And a real dumb move. Wolverine like brings this sword out and is like, Sabretooth, you have more guts and honor than I do, and I'm supposed to give this sword to a person with more guts and honor. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah, I don't know where this came from.
Yeah, like, and his Sabretooth, like, he came over here and helped us. Like, I get it. And he's not like the bad Sabretooth, but it's not like he's like a super good dude either, right? Like, we're not.
No, it seems like a handshake would have been good. Like bury the, like, hey, you're a good version of my archenemy. But giving him the one Ogun sword is a little weird.
Yes. Very strange to me. Although I am happy that this world has one less like honor sword in it. Like,
can we somehow dump them all into Age of Apocalypse?
Let's just get them all into Age of Apocalypse. Get them all out of here.
No one will ever give somebody a ceremonial sword again.
And before people get mad at me,
I
am pro sword. I just want them to be like Zweihanders and Buster swords, and I want it to be
functional
or functional.
Like just a symbol sword is annoying to me.
I just don't want them to be honorful. Like I don't want them to be tied up into somebody's like sense of duty or anything.
That's kind of like Wolverine is a classic weeb.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
He's doing that shit. Like it makes sense for Wolverine. It's just also Sabretooth reacts the way you should.
Yes.
So he's like, you're all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. I'm gonna go take this back.
I guess
home.
I'll hold this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go melt this down for replicators for food in my post-apocalyptic world. The big reveal here is that Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler is going to stay behind. There are refugees from Age of Apocalypse. There's Sugar Man, Iceman, Evil Iceman, Dark Beast, and the Blob. And he's like, they think they can get away with it, and we're going to show them that they can't.
Yeah,
this is a darker,
otherwise.
edgier Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
And the team needs a new member. They lost Angel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Psylocke is a little stressed out about this whole situation and asks Warren to take her away from here, and he flies her to the top of this like ridge canyon where they definitely boned down, I think, in the very first issue of this, right? And she even mentions that.
Very uncomfortable looking, like it's just a rock surface.
Yeah, like
there's
worse than
no
a
padding
beach
at all.
Somehow. Like I just don't.
Maybe a billionaire like takes you to a fuck rock. And just, Jesus Christ.
A fuck rock. Now we're just building subdivisions with Joe Bluth.
Billionaire fuck rock new on Fox. But he doesn't remember it. He's like, I don't remember any of that stuff.
Yeah.
She says, like, I know, my heart won't minute. Do you feel a love for me? And he's like, I do. I love all things. I can heal you. He's acting like an angel.
Yes.
He believes that he is a biblical angel. That's going to be his arc for a little while, and he is also going to go to the school. Get him off the book for a little
I
bit.
love Psylocke's look when he's like, I can heal you, and he reaches out his hands because she's like, ugh. Like,
Yeah.
do not like
No.
this
That
situation
wasn't-
at all. Yeah. It's very funny.
This is not what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
We cut over to the team where Wolverine's drinking. He's in a huge pile of beers. He just lost another Jean Grey. You know,
This is like the third or fourth one, right? Like we're getting a lot of them.
Yeah. And he's coming home drunk, and I love Phantom X's reaction to this. Like, you know, would you escort Evan to his room? Dad's been drinking, and I don't want him to see another spat. You know, it like it's very well observed.
Yeah. I like him being kind of superior in this because you know, Wolverine is like, you know, why did you do this? Why did you clone this dude? And he's like, what do you mean? What did I do? Like, did I save the world? Did I save all of your teammates? Like, what exactly are you referring to? And you know, and eventually he gets it out that like the reason that he did this, the reason that he cloned this apocalypse child and raised them in this environment was to see if it was a legitimately like nature versus nurture thing, because he also wanted to see if he had a chance of being a good person as well.
Yeah.
Which all makes sense.
There's relevance with this talking to Wolverine because they're both products of the Weapon Plus.
Yeah.
You know, they're both developed weapons. You know, their nurture or their nature is violence.
Yeah.
And you know, to be used.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also,
and
Phantom X throws a beer at his head, which I think is very funny too.
Yeah,
Just wanted to mention
just
that.
like, come on, old man. And Wolverine basically just acquiesces. You know, like, I started the school back up. This little experiment has a place to go. You know, and he's still giving Phantom X shit, and Phantom X is not taking it.
Yes.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's really unfortunate. Like, why are you giving me shit? Like, I saved the day. You know, so they're gonna send him there to the school, and they're basically saying whether they should tell him.
Yeah.
You know, whether about his heritage there, or whether they should tell him that his upbringing was fake.
And we leave it with Wolverine just being like, "You're gonna have to trust me on that. Like, I'm the one running the school," and I'm like, "When you're in 5 teams." There's a joke about that in one of these issues about him being on too many teams. But
he's not really doing anything at the school.
Yeah. He's just going to have to decide like when they have that conversation with Evan to tell him about what basically his history, right?
Yep.
And then who arrives but Beast and Kitty Pryde to come pick him up for the school, and Beast is extremely unhappy about, you know, them sneaking off to do more X-Force shenanigans, like,
and just keeping it secret. Like, hey, they're both going to go to the school. Your childhood friend who's been in the X-Men with you since the beginning, who's now mind wiped and is a human baby, and then baby apocalypse, and you can't tell anybody.
Yeah.
You know, and Beast is like, what the fuck, man? We're Avengers. Like, we don't do this shit. And I love this line where Wolverine's like, I'm not asking you to be an Avenger. I'm asking you to be an X-Men. It's not work. It's family.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is we have connections. Like, you make these sacrifices.
And I got to say, like, this next scene where, you know, Phantom X, Evan, Angel, Ultimaton, and then, of course, Age of Apocalypse, Kurt come walking up. And there's such a connection between Kitty Pryde and Kurt that she sees him and she freaks out. She's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you're here." And she rushes in for the hug, and like he has to hit her off. And like there's something about that was like really, I don't know if I didn't know how much I had invested in this relationship apparently, because I like felt so bad for Kitty Pryde in this moment of just like seeing this person, this best friend of hers from since she was a child, that she has so much of this history with, and then being like rebuffed immediately because it's a fake version of the one that she
It keeps happening with Wolverine during the next few issues.
I know.
You know,
it's
and
really
it's
bad.
fucked up shit. Right? Like, imagine somebody who you lost and then they're just being an alternate universe version who's like, yeah, I don't know you. I'm not your person. Yeah, it's rough stuff.
Yeah.
Angel is doing his Starman thing, and Evan very politely introduces himself to Beast. Beast looks at Wolverine and then welcomes him to the school.
Yes. All of which is just, you know, good and fun. We're just kind of shuffling the deck at this point, trying to get people where they need to be. And as we getting close to the end, Wolverine has this speech about like, we're going to be, the defenders of the campus, basically. Like, we're not going to make sure that no bad guys show up in your door. And I'm like, y'all have done literally nothing but react to bad things happening. Like, you've been nothing proactive. Like, I haven't seen you guys have a threat board or like an alert system. Like, you guys don't even have any like CIs. Like, I'm rewatching The Wire right now. Y'all don't even have like a Bubbles to deal with. Like, y'all don't have nobody.
Or a Dr. Mind Bubbles.
Yeah,
the heroin addicted Captain America villain. We later that night, Phantom X is putting up a poster of the new X-Force in their hall of past X-Forces.
Mm-hmm.
Basically saying like Warren's chapter ends, like, this is no longer Archangel's X-Force. And as he's doing that, a gigantic glowing fist comes out of a dimension and socks him in the face, and it's Captain Britain. And the Captain Britain Corps, which is a bunch of goofy Captain Britons, including Captain 8 Britain, who I think is the Scottish one.
Sure.
Yeah. And they're going to grab him, put him on trial.
Yep. For
in the next arc.
Crimes that he has committed. And that's going to bring us into technically 19.1, but we're going to skip that and go right to issue number 20 to continue the storyline. Gary, I'm going to be honest with you. This is some of my least favorite shit in this run. I had kind of put it out of my brain when we started this, and when we started talking about how great this run was, I was like, oh yeah, I really like this. They do all the apocalypse stuff and an angel,
forgot about Otherworld,
and then all of a sudden Captain Britain goes, we're here for like 8 issues, and I'm like, oh yeah,
forgot about Otherworld.
I like when they start misspelling Merlin with a Y, and everybody's name has 2 N's in the motherfucker. Like, I'm just like, I just check out completely. I'm just like, I just don't care about this. How are you feeling about Captain Britain as a?
So there's no universe in which I'm going to try to sell you on this.
Yeah.
So I want to get that out right away. The way that I come to peace with this is, I think the old Captain Britain Otherworld shit, like from Excalibur and Cross Time Keepers and shit like that, are really well loved. It's an X-Men lore thing that people really like. And one of the things Rick Remender's been doing with this run is going back to kind of little visited X-Men things.
Mm-hmm.
So like going back to the Age of Apocalypse, like after it had been, kind of dormant for a long time. I could see why he wants to play in the space if he has that affection. I don't have that affection. I think it's real silly. There are good moments during these issues, but I don't have any particular affection for the Captain Britain Corps. I don't think that I have as much hatred for him as you do. But I'm mostly with you, but I kind of get why it happened, I guess.
And hatred is probably a strong term. It's just something like, even as a kid, I was like, this is kind of childish.
Like, he's a lame wad, man. It's not, and like the guy, that arc where they're fighting him, there's an Excalibur thing that I think Alan Moore writes,
mm-hmm.
or a Captain Britain thing where he fights the character named Mad Jim Jaspers. That's supposed to be really good. I've never read it. I just, for some reason, I've never been able to get into Excalibur. It's too swashbuckling.
Yeah.
It's like too silly for me. Even when like a lot of my favorite X-Men were there, there's a time when it's Colossus, Kitty Pryde, and Nightcrawler are all on that team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a good team. But then you have to deal with Megan and Captain Britain. I can't care about Megan or Captain Britain or Sir Eyes.
Yeah.
It's just like these characters I just think are like powerful lame.
Just kind of, they're just kind of lame. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this cover is just kind of I like this cover a lot though. Like it's Phantom X chained in the beginning. He's been taken prisoner, and then it's just all of our X-Men team fighting a bunch of Britons, a bunch of Captain Britons from everywhere. Which is good. This is funny.
Yeah. Where this is entering the story arc, the trial of Phantom X.
Mm-hmm.
It says Otherworld Chapter 1, but the storyline is the trial of Phantom X. Here. And we find out here that they've also kidnapped Psylocke. It's worth also noting one of the reasons why this section falls flat for me. The art is by a guy named Greg Tocchini, who is not super familiar with, but I don't really like this guy very much. It's hard to kind of place, I think it's more the coloring and inking than the art, than the actual line work, but everything's a little too soft and faces end up looking undefined. There are a couple like characters look really off model and doughy.
Yeah.
Like they're made of claymation or something.
I was going to talk to you about this because I found everything to be kind of almost unfinished Like it's
Yes.
kind of like we just like they kind of got halfway through drawing and we're like, okay, we're good. This is
Yeah.
which is like a very impressionable kind of, and I think it's a style, right? I think this is what they were going for. But I'm with you in that it just seems like it's just not quite what it's fine. Like, but it's not like amazing, I guess is probably the best
So
way to say it.
look at this, like the very first panel here. Look at Psylocke is laying in the bed. Look at her right elbow. Doesn't it look like they had drawn her elbow too far and then just
And then just
resketched
fixed
it
Yeah.
to be closer?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it just left in. Like it doesn't. I don't want to CinemaSins it. You know, or what is that object that's to the right of her? That kind of looks like a lion's head, but it's just floating in space.
Yep. And like,
You know, like the blocking is bad. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't work for me.
it really feels like a first pass, right? Like
Yeah.
that's how this reads to me. That's how it read to me the entire time. It's just like, oh, this is just like a first pass of somebody, and then they just decided to run with it. Maybe they had a time thing, or maybe like this was like, no, this is what I wanted, and like they were like, oh,
For the other world.
Okay.
Like I could see it. Them wanting to do like, hey, this guy has a reputation for doing kind of dreamy, soft, washed out art.
mm-hmm.
Let's get him to do the other world because it's a weird magic realm. Like I get that. It's just not to my taste.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So Captain Britain has explained to Psylocke why he kidnapped her.
And
You know, took her in her sleep.
and not to derail this, but I got to get this out because it's going to happen constantly if I don't. He is so fucking sanctimonious during this entire thing, and I know it's
Oh, yeah.
specifically, but it legit makes it hard for me to read. Where this dude is just being like, "I can't believe that you would be doing these things that you have been doing. You should have been here with your family." Like I'm just like, get the fuck off of
Yeah.
her, man. Like I do not like this.
It's really obnoxious to be around. Like something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Jamie Britton, Captain Britain, Jamie Braddock. There we go. Formerly a villain, you know, and there's implications that something's going on
Mm-hmm.
here. Like he's acting a little out of character. It's not that far out of character though. One thing I love about Rick Remender is I think he fucking hates Captain Britain. We talked about that before in that Secret Avengers section. He comes up in I read the rest of Secret Avengers. And he fucking hates Captain Britain. It's pretty good. So Captain Britain is like, yeah, I took you in your sleep. Also, our psi connection started up, so I know everything you've done for the past few months. You know, it's all rough stuff.
Yeah.
Horrible.
So
You know.
they want her to come back into the fold. They're going to they've arrested essentially Phantom X, and they're going to put him on trial. And she kind of kicks back on him a little bit. She's like, you know, a lot of the people, because he makes a comment about, you know, Xavier's self-involved clan, and she's like, you know, most of those people would say that you're their friend. Like, what are you talking about? Why are you being? Why are you being
you
like
haven't
this?
helped us? Did we had a whole lot of shit that went down, man? Like, the Phoenix came back. Like, a lot of bad stuff happened. Why weren't you there? And he basically says, like, the Captain Britain Corps are like Green Lanterns for the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a Britain in every universe, and these guys protect them. And he's like, there's only one of me for every 10 universes.
Yeah.
You know, like I've been really busy.
A Britain in every universe is just like colonialism to the stars, huh? Like,
it's colonialism beyond dimensions.
space and time. Yeah, into the multiverse.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like, boy, oh boy. Yeah, we need Killmonger to come here and just set these guys right.
Captain Britain's job should be specifically preventing Margaret Thatcher's in the universe, not preventing. That's what he
Like,
should be doing.
Not preventing Phantom X's.
Exactly. Yeah.
They come to a standstill. They can't keep arguing. She says, okay, well, let's get past this. Like, we could just argue for all day, but just tell me why you need me.
Yeah.
You know? And they looks out the window, and Otherworld is being attacked in an incredibly fucking confusing panel.
Yeah, like if you really wanted to like delve into this thing, like what the fuck is happening anywhere?
It looks like AI art to me, where like certain things are just not finished, like they're just freestanding torsos and stuff.
Yeah. And like there's a little
guys
girl
without
with
heads
an
and
orb
everything.
giving it to a wizard, or is that a statue? I don't know. There's a lot of like dead bodies around. Like it's very, very confusing is what is happening here. And like why this is happening directly outside of their doorstep, and they don't seem to be like super concerned about it.
This is supposed to be the aftermath of the battle. So the battle is still going on. There's fighting going on the right. There's also people tending to wounded.
Mm-hmm.
that's happening. Like, it's very just unclear what this is supposed to present in a literal sense, other than that, like, there's a battle going on.
Yeah.
It's like Guernica, like it's too abstract.
It's a little too much, and he says like we're losing thousands every day, and I'm like, thousands? Like, again, you seem like you're exaggerating, Mr. Britain. I'm just saying.
How many Britons do you got?
Yeah.
He's basically saying like, come with me, there's even worse things. We don't know who's behind the attacks, but they're trying to get to the Tower Omniverse, doors that can access every plane of existence. And because they can go everywhere, we can't narrow down motivations. She sees her brother, Jamie, and she's, hesitates a minute because he used to be a pretty, he's crazy and he's a villain.
Yes.
He's like, how many times must I save the universe before my past mischief is forgotten? There are implications during this whole run this whole opening issues that he is up to something.
Yeah, he's a bad dude. I just had a horrible thought. What's his name? Cavill isn't going to be Superman in the DC universe anymore, so that'd be a pretty easy Captain Britain, right? Like he would slot right into that.
He'd do a pretty good Captain Britain.
I think he would be I think he would actually like make me like Captain Britain, depending on the writing. Like that dude's charming enough that I'd be like,
He's very charismatic. I always, when I was thinking of him in the MCU, I want him to do a role where he can have the mustache.
Yeah,
from
sure.
Mission Impossible.
Okay, yeah.
Like one of the strongest pulling off of a mustache is since Tony Dalton. It's like just really, really lands it.
It's really good. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. That's very funny.
Yeah. So basically, he's like, hey, you can help us. And in exchange for that, I'm going to give you back your old body. You become Lady Britain. Yeah. No longer be Psylocke. I brought you back from the dead. I can do all this stuff. I'm a reality alterer. And you can tell like bad shit's happening. We get this scene with literally like the devil and the devil on her shoulder. This panel of her looking and just like, return to your family. Together we will guard the gates of reality. Like this dark temptation.
It's in these kind of situations when people are writing these kind of situations. I just desperately want them to have the person being pitched to look at him and go like, well, what? You're my brother. Why wouldn't you just do that? Like, why? Yeah. Like, if you can do it, like,
why are we bargaining?
Why are you charging me for the privilege? Like, I mean, what is it? I mean, like, I just every once in a while, I wish they would just be like, yeah, why are we doing this?
Yeah, why do we have to bargain, man? Yeah. We cut over to what we later find out is a danger room scene.
Mm-hmm.
This is again, I think the art fails to convey a lot of things.
Yep.
In this, they are trying to train Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler, and the old team are just hanging around having beers while various characters, and basically they're saying like, hey, this is evil Sabretooth and evil Mystique. You might have to kill them. Mm-hmm. They're evil in our world. She does his signature move, decapitating Lady Deathstrike, but she sticks out her mecha tongue and grabs him, which is great.
Where's that card, Midnight Suns? I need my mecha tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and during all of this, of course, they're chatting back and forth, and this Nightcrawler takes exception to being called Elf because he is much too roguish and charming to be called something so quote-unquote feminine. Or effeminate, I should say, if I'm going to quote it. Yeah. And, this is basically like trying to get him used to their team's tactics, and Deadpool has just had enough of this. He's like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude! Like, you're complaining about your outfit, you're complaining that your one move doesn't work. Like, what? Can you just please shut up, for the love of God? And there's this line where he's like, I've seen too much to believe in any love of God, which of course is 180 degrees from our version of Nightcrawler, which was had a very devout faith.
Yeah. Wolverine tries to bond with them again. He's like, I know where you picked up that edge. I know what it takes for you to fall down and get back up. Mm-hmm. I know the man you are, not because I knew my Nightcrawler, but because you came into our world and helped us. You had nothing to gain. And he's like, no, it's not that I have nothing to gain. I have nothing. I'm here for revenge. I'm not here to pretend to be your Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
This odd projection you have is fucked up. You are just shadows of people who I know, who I don't like very much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm here to kill these assholes, which is like, again, fair. Like, this would be like, imagine, your worst enemy, and then just you're in another world and your worst enemy is like, you're my buddy.
Yeah.
He's like, no, Wolverine in my world is Apocalypse, dude.
Yeah, he's a horrible person.
Like Deadpool in my world, like tried to kill me and I had to kill him. Like, you guys are assholes.
Yes.
Like it makes sense for them not to get along.
Yeah. And this is all good, by the way. I actually like all of this stuff. Like, this is having a Nightcrawler that subverts everybody's expectations of what Nightcrawler is fun.
It's a good idea, after Nightcrawler left. Like, yeah. So this is good, and it's one of the things that saves these issues. Like, there's still cool character stuff that happens, even if we're gonna do a bunch of other world of bullshit.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's
the good thing about that's the thing I like about Remender is even if the premise is something that I would just recoil from, like, it's genuinely fun. And I still had a good time reading these issues despite having issues with the art as well as just the fact that Captain Britain exists, and that's not Remender's fault. I can't blame him for that.
No, he didn't create him. If you want to have a fun hate on Captain Britain, the Captain Britain and MI13 miniseries that came out in like the mid 2000s is really funny. It's like Pete Wisdom.
Okay.
And his team, and there's a really good like himbo Captain Britain.
Interesting. All right.
I think that Skrull that thinks he's John Lennon is on the team.
Okay.
Reincarnated. Like, it's real fun.
Into it. Yeah.
I can't remember the name of that artist. Paul Cornell, who's a really good writer. Who's not all of his stuff is on Marvel Unlimited, which sucks.
Yeah.
But so he's basically Captain Britain saying it's a really simple choice. Like, just get rid of these last few years. Like, start with a clean conscience without these consequences. You can get off light. Your companion who kills babies will not. And we cut to Phantom X being perp-walked by Captain England, who is Captain Britain, but like a big sexy bear.
Yeah.
Like a big beard and a leather axe.
With a lion on his chest.
With a gold lion on his chest. Like, fetish gear Captain Britain over here, perp walking him.
Gotta absolutely adore fetish gear Captain Britain.
Yeah.
And they're taking him to trial. So this is, despite the fact that they're losing thousands of people outside the doors, there's like a couple of thousand Captain Britons hanging out in the audience for this thing. As they bring them to, is this person's name Winus? And not, or is her title Winus? Because either way, I hate it. I'm just gonna say it out loud.
I think it's multiverse. So this is my guess. It's a play on Your Royal Highness, but it's because it's multiverse and like what is reality and ontological shit.
Yeah.
It's Winus. It's like what is as opposed to Highness. I don't like it either. It's dumb that they made a little rhyming pun rather than coming up with their own name for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the kind of shit that like, this is, somebody could listen to this and be like, what is the difference between that and Small Pym and Lil Ultron? And I'm like, yeah, fair. I that is also real silly. This is just a flavor of silly I like less.
I'll be honest with you. Lil Ultron, immediately fun to say. Lil Ultron, like it's
real fun to say.
It's real fun to say.
And I keep saying Small Pym. I think it's Tiny Pym.
Tiny Pym, great, excellent.
Tiny Pym and Little Ultron.
Tiny Pym and Little
like
Ultron,
the team of the century.
Can't wait to see all of those. Like, what are they called? The Infinity comics that they've been doing. I want to see that team up. But Winus is just like a weird mush of a word to put in your mouth, and that is the difference. Yeah. So for all of you haters,
it doesn't sound good. It doesn't. It's not fun to say, and it doesn't sound good when you say it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. They're basically just laying it out, like, hey, you killed this baby. He's like, yeah, I killed him. It was to save several worlds. I found him a child. He'd been programmed by Akaba and he's beyond rehabilitation. Jamie's saying like, I've been rehabilitated, why wouldn't I be executed? And just basically it's a kangaroo court. Like it is, a foregone conclusion.
Yes.
He's saying, yeah, sometimes you are in a situation where you have to make a bad choice, but you don't make an unreversible choice of killing a child. That's what a monster does.
Yeah.
And I wanted Phantom X to be like, you were like a big time supervillain. How many kids did you kill?
Yeah, exactly.
Like why do I like the comparison shouldn't be between you and Baby Apocalypse. It should be between you and me.
Yes, exactly.
Why don't I get that chance? And that's, the big hinting that this is all not everything's on the up and up here, and they just find him guilty. Like, yeah, he admitted it. There's no other,
we're done.
We don't need another witness or anything like that. He's done.
And the punishment for this is hilarious: the eradication from existence by retroactive molecular deconstruction. Which basically means like they give him something. They give him like a fucking.
They inject it into his brain, like it's a chemical,
and then he is like retroactively erased from existence, like where people don't even remember that he existed anymore. Also, at some point during this conversation or during all of this, we learned that like Phantom X and existing is kind of a is extremely strange. He doesn't exist in the other universe, which
there's just one.
Yeah, which is makes me more interested in Phantom X, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like as opposed to all these various Captain Britons of various bondage gears. You know, Captain Britain, they're all watching this, Captain Britain and Psylocke, and Captain Britain's like, you know, you have to trust me. It was a villainous act.
Yeah.
You know, and she's seeing through this. She's not going to, you know, to trust him. We cut over to the team and they realize they've been told after they left the danger room that the 2 of their team members have been kidnapped.
Yep.
To the other world, Gateway's going to send them there. And I really like this. This is a cute bit where Deadpool's like, hey, anything, you know, what to expect. And Automaton is like, you know, it's this dimension of magic and stuff. And Deadpool starts talking about D&D things, you know, and Wolverine's like, it's not like that. It's like the beautiful green hills. There are fairies and kindly old wizards. Because he's thinking of the old other world that he went off on swashbuckling adventures.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, during the cross time caper and stuff. And they go through the portal and Deadpool immediately gets his head cut off by like an orc thing.
Of course.
Because it's a fantasy war.
And this is also like borderline unreadable, right? Like
it's awful.
Like it's a huge action shot where horrible. Like there's a guy with skulls and antlers and all kinds of crazy shit happening, and it's really difficult to tell what's going on. The upshot of all of this is that there is a goat wizard with 3 orbs, and he seems to be the one controlling all of this and directing all of this action against him. Goat wizard with 3 orbs, extremely cool.
Yo, the goat's great. Like the goat is real cool. Any of the original characters that Remender's bringing this, I'm pretty into. I love that Nightcrawler tries his thing. He's like, he has a head. I will take it. And then he touches him and it fucks him up.
Yeah, very funny.
You know, gets him and everything. So they have to run away. They're outclassed by orbs. As you would be. And we get kind of this motif. A lot of the issues in this end with just like a little setup of the status quo, like where we're at, you know? So it's showing them, you know, putting Phantom X into the machine, Wolverine sneaking up on the Goat Wizard looking at him, and Psylocke has been turned into Miss Britain.
Yes.
If you're nasty.
Worst fucking outfit that we have seen in a long time, and I'm including some of the Midnight Sun stuff that we saw, which was just all blades. Like this is,
it could use some gold and to be on fire.
Yes,
and then it might look kind of good,
kind of okay. But yeah, this is just, and she's going to be in it for most of the rest of this run, and I'm not here for this at all. So
yeah, it's also, she goes back to that outfit I think in the new Krakoa stuff. It's actually the 2 comics that stopped me from reading the like Dawn of X, like Ascension of X shit, were that and New Mutants.
Yeah.
Like Excalibur and New Mutants were both awful.
New Mutants
was like, you know, I can't keep up with this line.
New Mutants was really, really bad. What I read of it, I'm not going to condemn the whole thing or anything, but what I read was not as good as I wanted it to be.
Yeah,
I will.
Maybe it gets good.
I think my problem, like, because I reread Hoxbox, and I was, and I'm always going to call it Housebox, so fuck off, everybody. I reread it, and I really, really enjoyed it, and so I was like, I'm going to read everything that came out, and what I tried to do was like read them in like the order they would have come out with, like keeping up with them all like 4 lines monthly. And I just think I ruined it for myself. Like I feel like if I had just like read a run, and I would have had a lot more fun. So I'm gonna try to go back.
That's what I did too. That's what threw me off too. And then I would get to eventually that 4 becomes like 7.
Yeah.
And then they start including some like real low cards. So I was looking back at like what I had read, and I'd read like the first, 7 or 8 issues of X-Men and of Marauders, and then like 2 or 3 X Factors, and then 1 New Mutants, 1 Excalibur.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of sick of it. And they just keep adding things. Like there's Hellions are going to show up. And there's another Wolverine series. Like they expand the line a bunch. So like the idea of being on top of it is really intimidating.
Exactly.
Not that I have to, but I feel like I should. I feel like I want to.
Yeah, it's a new X-Men stuff, and it's fun. Like I want to be in the know on all of that stuff, but sometimes it's just really hard to like fucking keep up with it.
I'm really I'm good. I'm still going to at some point.
Yeah.
Like that's my plan, and I like that the even though we've done Avengers versus X-Men a million times, I like it makes sense for me that the Avengers would be like, you know what, like this ain't
This
cool.
is bad.
This seems bad. Like just the mutants are immortal and they control the world. Like this is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, you guys have weird medicine or something? Like what is this? What is going on?
Yeah.
Real fast.
Professor X never takes off the helmet. That's creepy, right?
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I it makes sense. So I will read another Avengers versus X-Men thing when the X-Men are immortal and live on a weird magical island and shit.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of reading to do to get there. And I'm too busy reading about Dr. Mind Bubble.
Gotta get Mind Bubble first. That's always the place to start.
Yeah. Love Mind Bubble.
We're gonna so that was issue 20. We're gonna go into 21, which has a much cooler cover, and this is a goat wizard with orbs in the background and Wolverine and Nightcrawler fighting him. But it's just like more of
on a big pile of skeletons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this
looks great.
It's much more penciled, I think, so it looks a little cooler to me.
Yeah, the interior art is still soft nonsense.
Yes.
Just that the cover is nice. The cover is by Lionel Francis Yu, who I know, like I've read books with him before, but this looks like a new style for him, which is cool.
Yeah.
He was a real it writer in the mid-aughts. Starts off with Phantom X getting put into the brain injector machine. Elephant is like, I hate other worlds. And I'm like, yeah, man,
absolutely.
Like, this shit sucks.
I do too. So I'm there with you, Phantom X. These machines start shutting down his brains one by one. And he has, I think, 3, and the first 2 die. So he's left with this like third brain, which never speaks up. And
we only knew about 2. This is a reveal.
This is the reveal. Like I couldn't remember.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you recall, he's going to get separated into multiple Phantom X's at the end of this. We're going to get Femtom X, the lady Phantom X, pretty soon.
Perfect.
Yeah. But he's narrating what his brains are doing. Like the first one is like, just let this happen. This isn't as bad as we thought. Stop panicking. And they all get shut up. This is brain death. It's awful.
Yeah.
The third one finally comes up though. Comes online. It never talked before.
Yep.
And it just says, I miss my mother. Like it's his absolute elemental human,
yeah.
part. Psylocke runs in and saves him, and he's like a blubbering mess. He's gonna be a blubbering mess for the whole issue.
Yeah, which is also a bummer to me. I think that's one of the reasons. And I realize like it's part of the story, but like just having him every time we see Phantom X from this issue, it's like he's gonna be like, "Mother, please help me. I didn't mean father. I'm sorry," and that kind of stuff. And again, it's leading towards reveals about Phantom X, but in the meantime, I'm just like, wow, I miss Phantom X. I miss his specific brand of wit.
He's fun when he's real character. Betsy's like, I'm going to save you, but you have to hold on to this memory. Like basically don't go to sleep.
Yeah.
So keep living this memory because you have to hold on. If you didn't, you would die.
Yep. And she's confronted by her brother with a bunch of other Captain Britons. And she just basically,
including a big floating one. Look at that one at the top, the big orb.
Is that like a
mad ball looking one?
Yeah. What is that dude's deal?
That's a good Captain Britain. I like that guy. And then in the back, there's just kind of a big red shape that I think is meant to be like a gigantic Captain Britain.
That's probably the Margaret Thatcherbot. Now that we're thinking.
Yeah. It's Thatchtron 2000.
Thatchtron 2000. Yes.
They're gonna threaten her, and she just shuts them all down because she's a super powerful psychic.
Yes.
No big deal.
No big deal. Meanwhile, Wolverine is still fighting the very cool goat orb wizard. Very here for all of this. The wizard has, he's doing that typical wizard thing of like, yes, you're here. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And then he calls, he comes through a list of names that he thinks Wolverine is called. And they're all very funny. Cuddy Man, Claw Knight, Razor Fist, Bloodface.
Yeah, it's real good. He's speaking in a font, which I like. He's like, oh, you flesh people always cover yourself in metal, he's real fun. And he sticks one of his orbs on Wolverine's head. They're kind of crushing his face into it, bending the metal.
Yes.
He's the fetid cockle of your soul. He's like, I'll give you a fetid cockle. Like it's great. It's real fun. Orbing him, and it's crushing his skull. Mm-hmm. It's like this magnet orb crushing his bones. You get to see his like knee bend backwards. It's awful. He's really fucking him up.
Yeah, this is not good for anybody.
Yeah. Nightcrawler is talking about, he's like, for a moment I'm into this. Back home, this guy killed millions of people, but this is a different man. I should help him. And he saves him.
Yes.
There. Saves Wolverine.
And he teleports the orb into the path of a guy with a huge hammer who destroys this orb that he's stuck to. And then he jumps on an undead unicorn, like undead skeletal unicorn, pierces Deadpool's skull with a sword.
just to grab him and get him out of there.
Grabs Wolverine and then like takes off. Like just really like save the day kind of shit here, and I love it.
I love how often X-Force retreat.
Yeah.
Like that never happens in comics. Mm-hmm. But like when they're outmatched, they go and regroup. So they destroy the orb of Metallum. They still have a bunch of other orbs. I like when he grabs Deadpool's head. Deadpool's like, Logan's right. This place is an enchanted vacation. Just rubbing it in his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back at
as they escape.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back over at Psylocke, she is going through the tower of multiverse doors, looking for the door to 616 so that they can go home. When they are once again confronted by Jamie Braddock, her brother, and Jamie is like, he is a villain. Why are you doing this? Blah blah blah. And she's like, absolutely, he's a good guy. I think there's something in there. I'm not going to allow you to kill him. And meanwhile, like Phantom X is just birthday new hat kind of bullshit.
Yeah. The idea here is that she was going to go through the door and Jamie like bent reality so she couldn't. This art's fucking incomprehensible. I know we keep hammering on this, but to know what was physically happening in these panels, I had to read this like multiple times.
Yeah.
I really don't like it.
It's really hard to get through. It really is.
Yeah. It's honestly probably like the biggest thing that stops me from connecting with this otherworld shit. Like I try to imagine like if this was drawn by Mike Allred or something, like this just looks psychedelic and awesome. I think I might be more into it, even with the same script.
Yeah, I could maybe see it. If it was more visually interesting, I would definitely like it a lot more if I didn't have to muddle through it.
Yeah,
100%.
I had to read everything multiple times.
Yeah.
The Captain England comes in. They interrupt them. Captain Britain says she can't be blamed for this. She can't see him for what he is. I'm going to go take a brigade and go catch them. And this happens when Leather Daddy Captain England comes in to say that they've lost at the front.
Yes.
And what's happening is the army is getting to the village of Wood. And that's where Megan and the others. Megan is a empathic like sprite creature thing or something that is Captain Britain's girlfriend wife. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Femdom.
That's Megan.
Femdom, probably, if we had to guess.
Something like that for Captain Britain. Yeah.
So, and he's obviously worried, like, oh my God, he's thinking she's dead at this point. And so, but now he can't go chase after her because he has duties here to protect this tower.
Yeah.
So he can't go out there, so he's pretty frustrated. And they talk about that he's using these orbs and that he's bringing things back to life. And they're like, that shouldn't be possible. Like we have all those orbs here.
Nope. But our enemy holds the orb of Necroman. This necromancy orb is a big part of Secret Avengers as well.
How are y'all going to make orbs sound uncool, man? What are you doing?
So they're carrying everybody out. Wolverine is walking out here. Nightcrawler's walking out carrying Deadpool. Wolverine's got the body. Nightcrawler's got his head. And they're escaping out. And they happen to be in the village of Wood. They get there. Everybody gets swords and spears pulled on them until this big Odin-looking motherfucker reaches forward and kisses Nightcrawler. This is Megan.
Yes.
She can shapeshift.
She is extremely happy to see her old friend, Kurt, and then not realizing like, oh, this is not the same Kurt. So.
Yeah. It's going to keep happening.
Yes.
Wolverine basically says like, he didn't ask to help us, or he said, Megan says, I thought Brian would be too proud to ask the X-Men for help. And he's like, he didn't ask us. He took 2 of our people and I'm going to find them.
Yes.
We're getting them home no matter what. Like, we are not going to get involved in this bullshit.
Yep.
Psylocke has gone to something called the Forest of Sorrows to meet with the Ogre King wizard, Cromtalk or whatever, Crockwell.
I think in the next issue, like when she tells Phantom X what this, and he goes, "You're making all of that up," and that's exactly how I felt reading it too. I'm just like, no, why are you even doing this? Like, why?
It's not very interesting. She's bargaining with him. He was cast out by her father back in the day, and she's like, you can save Phantom X. If you do this, I'll get you back in good graces. Return you. He's like, I can't do it. She says, there must be one thing, you can do, the one thing you want for this. And he says, there is one thing you want, but it will be a price deeper than you could ever imagine. We're not going to find out during this episode what the price is, just that she pays it.
Yes. So they're going to get what they want from that. We're going to go back over to Captain Britain and his group, where they have discovered that they still have the 3 orbs. They're just right there. So they don't know what's going on with this orb situation.
Extra orbs. Before
they can really get into it, though, the whole castle shakes. There's a huge doom sound, and they're like, how did these enemy get so close without alerting the guards? And it's because they are the undead versions of their guards. And there's some real like. I think you're right. If the art was a little better, like if it was a little bit more readable, that I would like it a lot more, because like this panel,
a little more readable would obviously help. Imagine it being badass.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like this army of skeleton Captain Britons.
Yeah.
As opposed to just this, like this panel here where it's just everything's kind of floating in space.
Mm-hmm.
Like if this were great, like if it looked really cool, pleasure for the eyes. I think it would really work.
Well, and the thing that like this top panel where like all of the undead guards are on the left hand side, like there's just a torso attacking, and I don't, like can this thing like fly? Like what is this?
Freestanding torso.
And I just really wish it was like a Army of the Dead situation. Is that the movie I'm thinking about? Evil Dead situation where like it was like crawling along the ground or something. Like I want it to be like better than this, I guess. So I don't know.
Zoomed out would help a lot.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's also, again, we just have these freestanding heads, but we don't know what's decapitated them.
Mm-hmm.
On the right, there's a Captain Britain body, and then there's a head floating above it. I don't know. The art drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah.
In this, it's when I was reading it, I kind of could glaze past it, but in revisiting it and trying to actually determine what happened in detail, it's much more difficult and irritating.
What the fuck is going on in this page? Yeah.
Yeah.
Megan sends her little floating head ribbit guy, Widget the ribbit, to go tell Captain Britain that they're losing this battle. Like they've got more people coming. It's not going to be good. And then they come up with this plan because huge undead dragon skeleton dudes, which if you're not reading the comics with us, and I said huge undead dragon skeletons, you'd be like, wow. And I just want you to like take that down 5 notches.
Yeah, it's a big mechanical Tyrannosaurus Rex that's skeletal as well. And it looks like dog shit. It doesn't like it. It pains me to say it. Feels like I'm saying 2 + 2 is 5.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right, but it 1000% is. We go up into that thing, up into this gigantic thing, and we meet our antagonist for this main guy who is friends with the goat.
Yes.
The goat's talking about taking them out. And then we meet this guy who is a barrister with no skin, just muscle. And he says, you big tease. Yep. And we're going to have him. There was a statue of him when they passed by next to Dr. Mindbubble.
Yes.
So they were foreshadowing.
Which is funny. But also we have no idea who this dude is. He just looks like a random dude.
We're going to find out a bit in this next issue. Phantom X is going to get his brain back and stuff and talk to him. And he's interesting. Like, I like the skinless man. I think he's cool and creepy. It picks up.
Yeah, let's get into it because I have opinions about Skinless Man, I think.
Yeah.
So the next issue, number 22. This is a cool cover, even though it's Psylocke in her bad outfit. She's flying a dragon around a huge castle, and that's cool. Like, I'm here for that.
This actually works.
Yes.
Again, the cover is by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
We open up with her in the throne of screaming faces, having undergone some kind of thing to get Phantom X back.
Yeah.
And the guy, the necro wizard, ogre wizard or whatever, says, here you can head over to where the goat is at and his forces are consuming the land. If he catches you, drink this, it'll kill you really quickly. The sorrow forest collects sorrow from his victims. You don't want to be taken alive by this guy. He's a real monster. Yeah.
Yep.
They're healing Deadpool back in there, back in the village. And Wolverine and Nightcrawler are kind of walking around looking at this very destitute village of refugees. Wolverine says, I know what you're thinking. We have to help them. And Nightcrawler's like, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Of course we have to help them.
We would have helped them in my world.
Yeah. And I came to your world to help you. Like, why wouldn't we help them?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
I like this. Like, and this is kind of one of those things of, even though you're a different version, a different universe Nightcrawler, like, this is the same thing our Nightcrawler would do.
Yep. You're the better angel of my nature. You talked me into it. We'll do it your way. We'll storm the castle. We'll kill the goat monk. I hope you're happy because we're probably going to die.
Yes.
Getting involved in this bullshit.
We go to some just completely incomprehensible battles with Captain Britain and Jamie and just people with pitchforks everywhere, and I just don't understand what's going on in any of them.
Doesn't matter. They're holding off the army.
Yeah.
That's the important thing. Jamie walks up and says, you have to be confident. Your powers are based on confidence. We will save Megan after we save the Citadel, but we will lose if you don't buck up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Phantom X is waking up. He gets filled in with basically everything that's been going on. He's got his brain back. And they get into this like weirdly timed argument where he tells her that he apologizes and he says, "I'm sorry for everything." And she says, "Are you? Like, you kind of advocated against Warren from the, you told me that I never loved Warren. You did all this stuff." And he says, "Well, I had to do that because all of you were too blind to see what was happening, and I had to set all of this up so that you would believe me and that you would see him for who he truly is." And this pisses her off enough for her to like almost punch him because he was being a manipulative shit.
Yeah. Even though it saved the day, it was underhanded.
Mm-hmm.
She says, "Why did I save you?" And he's like, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Like, I am kind of an asshole. She explains all the stuff within the force of sorrow within the pyramid of the ogre, where Crockwell, the ogre mage, was sentenced for eternity. This story says you made that up. Like, very funny. This wizard, he was sentenced there by your father. And he asks her what she sacrificed to save him, and she doesn't answer. She dodges the question.
Yes.
Like, we have to get back to Earth before they kill you. So they're going to try to get out before they catch him.
Meanwhile, Deadpool wearing a scarf around his neck to keep his head on, which I find very funny. And Wolverine are splitting off from Nightcrawler and Megan to go they're going to go to the castle, try to get Psylocke, while Nightcrawler and Megan do dragon stuff. Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, I think he got off light." And Wolverine's like, "No, I think actually he probably has a little bit."
The army of undead dragons seems like a little bit more scary than what we're doing.
Yep. Megan is like, "It's very comforting to have you here, having a familiar face." He's like, "Yeah, I would imagine." "Oh, mein Gott." And then there's this gigantic army of, again, not nearly as cool looking mechanical dragons and skeletons and giants.
Yeah.
And stuff as you want. They fight that, and he bamfs around.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go save people from the dragons.
Yep. Eventually, they we go back over to Psylocke, who has got her own dragon that she's flying around. And Phantom X is basically just like, "Hey, what's going on?" Like, give me all of the details. Like, I don't understand why any of this is happening. And she's like, "No, I stole this dragon. We just got to get out of here. Like, my entire family wants to kill you." And this is where they are attacked by the Skinless Man.
Yes.
And he very quickly grabs them and plunges them into the water below, knocking Psylocke out pretty quickly. And then as he comes down, he uses his skin powers to wrap them up and to incapacitate them. Muscle, sorry, not skin. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. He's kind of like Venom looking, except it's strands of like bare muscle, that he takes. And he basically, he's like, the court recognizes using barrister speak. Phantom X, we get to his internal thing. He's like, I have to get her out of here because this guy's here. Because I know what Weapon 3 can do.
Yeah,
is another refugee from the world here. And he basically explains it. He like leans in, where is my skin? Where'd you take it?
Where is my skin is a very funny statement.
Yeah, where's my skin, brother?
We're gonna jump back to Deadpool, who's having a lengthy, I guess, what diagnostic session with Wolverine. As he's listing out all of the traits for narcissistic personality disorder and how Wolverine has all of them. And hey, maybe we should go on Dr. Phil's like medical retreat, just the two of us, just two heterosexual dudes floating in the ocean, laughing together, that kind of thing. Typical Deadpool stuff. And then of course Wolverine's like, you think all this because you're a narcissist, and he's like, oh wait, maybe I am a narcissist.
Yeah. Oh, this will be a team building exercise. It's like, I remember too many teams. It's cute. I kind of like that Wolverine can joke with Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone else, other funny characters in this, like, will get irritated with him and just ignore him and shit on him. But I think Wolverine kind of is just like, what, this is just this dude. Like I can joke with him.
Yeah.
So they're sneaking in here, basically bantering about respect and stuff. It's fine. They walk in and they find some orbs.
Yay, more orbs.
There's some floating orbs. They're showing what's going on in the rest of the thing, and they've walked in on the goat.
You never want to walk in on the goat.
Yeah, never walk in on goat. We cut back over to the skinless man who has wrapped up Psylocke and Phantom X in skin.
Mm-hmm.
There, and basically explains his origin. He was a barrister who was like a good version of Skin, the Generation X guy. Like he could actually use it for things.
Mm-hmm. He had super sensitive skin, so he could use it to like read books.
Yeah, it was super sensitive when it came off him.
Mm-hmm.
And he met the father, the father who shows up again in Secret Avengers and in Uncanny Avengers and stuff. This is a Rick Remender, big bad guy, who supercharged his powers, so he could go and do. And he's also the guy from the Weapon Plus program.
Yeah.
Who we saw back in way back in Assault on Weapon Plus. So he basically made him an agent of this Weapon Minus program for Weapon Plus, sent him to go get this orb of necromancy.
Yes.
There with his evil skin powers. And Phantom X stopped him and peeled all his skin off.
Well, Phantom X stopped him, and then he gets the Captain Britain, Psylocke's dad, condemns him to have his skin taken, and then Phantom X steals the skin, which is extremely hilarious. Like it's just a baller move, to be honest with you.
That's when he has the sentient bullet that's wrapped in skin from a sentient skin that could never miss, that he shot Archangel with.
So what do we know? Because you and I both have skipped around the X-Men universe quite a bit, both for the podcast and then personally. Like, what do we know about Phantom X's origins besides like he came from the world, right? Because we didn't know any of this stuff, that like he was around in like barrister times or whatever, right? Like, and it just, I don't know. Like, I don't know that I like knowing this history, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at.
I don't want to alarm you too much, but barrister times are now. They're I don't know. This looks like it's old timey, but we don't know when it is because there are still barristers who wear the wigs and shit. Yeah, like that's legitimately a thing they do.
Okay, well, you're right. I don't like to know that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but we don't actually. Phantom X has modern guns during this thing. I think this is just supposed to be now.
Okay,
it just looks like old timies because They're wearing those fucking barrister wigs, which for some reason is how justice happens.
Okay. Well, I'm upset about.
Sorry, man.
Upset about all of this now. So.
Apologies.
That's okay. That's okay.
In answer to the question, I don't know. Like I've read a bunch of stuff with Phantom X, but I haven't read everything with Phantom X, and there's conflicting stuff.
Okay.
To me, the thing I like about the Skinless Man is, we had weapons like 1 through 15, and we know who some of the early weapons were, but using those as slots for weird fucking trippy supervillains is cool to me.
Okay.
It's a good excuse to have somebody who is like a power player who hasn't been around.
My whole thing, my whole issue was literally like, I feel like this was the 1800s, and I didn't like Phantom X to be in the 1800s because in my head that was where barrister times existed. So
yeah,
I'm just going to do a little Homer gif and walk right back into the woods. Like I'm just gonna.
Yeah, no, there's barristers.
Oh, God damn it!
It's fucked up, man. Yeah. So anywho, that's how he got his sentient bullets.
Okay.
Originally,
which is cool because he was using the sentient bullets to like scatter them across basically the entire world. So he'll never get his skin back. This dude will never get.
Yeah, this guy is bad news. Phantom X needed to take him out of the picture. But the Skinless Man, not having any skin, he's walking around his muscle, and he's learned to use his muscles the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So he has these like tendrils, like skins of muscle that can like go out and contract and stuff. He's going up to Phantom X, saying like, oh, maybe this isn't happening. Maybe it's a misdirection. As he cuts off Phantom X's face.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking badass and metal and scary.
It's gruesome, man. I love it. This is just going to take my pound of flesh. And then as these issues have been ending, we get our little like montage. So we have Wolverine and Deadpool attacking the goat. We have Captain Britain fighting Guy.
Ronan, not Ronan the Accuser.
Definitely not Ronan the Accuser, just a guy that looks like him. And then of course Megan and Nightcrawler fighting the evil dragons. So all of this is fun. Like I'm having a really good time with this. There's not a lot of Captain Britain in it, so that's probably my favorite part.
As that stuff goes away and it becomes more about old Phantom X grudges and shit, I'm more into it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if I recall, this is the thing that ends with Phantom X being split into 3 Phantom X's, which I remember paying off, but having kind of an irritating opening section there. And after that, we don't have too much more of this.
Yeah, it doesn't.
We'll have to figure out what we're doing. We got a few more episodes.
It doesn't last very long, that's for sure.
I think it's 35 issues total.
So not too long at all, and then we will be on to something new, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll have watched Wakanda Forever at that point. We'll talk about that.
I don't remember our last MCU check-in. Did we do She-Hulk already? We talked about She-Hulk and
we did talk about She-Hulk.
Okay, so that was the last thing.
Talked about Midnight Suns.
Out. Yeah.
What we haven't talked about is Miss Marvel because I still need to watch it.
Okay.
Werewolf by Night. We haven't talked about that Guardian special. I know you said that was lame, but if I end up watching that, we can both say it's lame. And then Wakanda Forever. And then by then also Ant-Man will come out. And weirdly enough, like I hate admitting to it, but I think I'm pretty looking forward to Ant-Man. I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I like seeing the MCU movies in the theater. So I'm gonna watch Wakanda Forever this weekend, and then Ant-Man's out soon, I think, like in the next week or two. So I'll probably sneak to the theater during a work day and watch that.
Yeah,
because that's how I do.
Weirdly, like I've liked all of the Ant-Man movies so far. Like I liked 1 and I liked 2. So they're not like all-time favorites. They're not astounding or anything like that, but they're in the top half, like bottom of the top half for me.
Yeah. I've enjoyed the Ant-Man stuff. The embiggening of things and going back is really, really fun in the second movie, even if it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like I just don't care. I'm like, I don't care if it doesn't make sense. I just like it. I don't care if there would be water pipes connected to the building. I just am having a good time with it.
Well, then also I don't know. It's fun to hang out with Paul Rudd.
Yeah, Paul Rudd is genuinely funny. You saw that they were releasing,
very charismatic.
You probably already saw this somewhere, but I guess in the movie, not Paul Rudd, but Scott has written an autobiography of
Yeah.
himself, and they're releasing the book like in
Oh,
IRL. Like there's a trailer on
I
the
didn't know
Marvel
that.
YouTube about it. Yeah, like you'll be able to go read that whole situation if you want to, which is extremely hilarious.
nice.
Is
Yeah,
that
what
it?
can people do?
Yeah, they can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv to support this podcast and the entire network directly. There's a huge variety of podcasts on the network nowadays, and there's a ton of exclusive content behind the Patreon wall. And you should go check all of that stuff out. There's all kinds of cool benefits. You can tell Gary and Cole to play bad games. I just got my email for my personal bad game submittal, so I've got to come up with something really evil. Or good, or just interesting.
Man.
Yeah, you can get on the Slack. All of that stuff is super super important to us, and we really appreciate all of you that are doing it. And if not, ratings and reviews go a long way on various podcasting services. But like the best way to support us is just tell your friends about the podcast. We very much appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to throw a big. This is the first time we've recorded this show. Big thanks to Gwen, our new producer. Gwen is not producing the show. Gwen doesn't produce the show or Everything to Guppy, but we're very happy to have her on board.
Absolutely. Yeah.
She produces the other shows.
Yeah. It's great. She's good.
Yeah.
All her music and stuff that y'all have gotten her to do is great.
Oh yeah. She's been a big boon.
Mm-hmm.
So big thanks. And that's basically it. We appreciate you. You take care of yourself.
Yeah. See you in a couple of weeks with more Uncanny X-Force.